Alright guys, another quick video. This one is for diced tomatoes. If you've seen the sliced tomato video, it's real similar to that. Pretty much the exact same process, just a few slight variances. So for diced tomatoes, they're going to go into these tall 6 pans, and it's really just going to be dependent on the number of pans you have to prep as to how many of these you're going to need. So normally we try to keep it in even numbers because one of these pans right here will fit into 2 tall 6 pans. Okay. Now there are times where you're only going to have to do 1. If that's the case, then you're only going to use partial of this and then plastic wrap it and put it back into the cooler for later use. But for today's purposes, just to kind of show you the basic principles of it. So in this case, we're doing 1 whole pan, 2 tall pans. So you need 2 tall 6 pans, 6 pan drip sets. Go in there, right? And then 2 lids. Some of these you'll find they have like a little spot for a ladle hole. It really doesn't matter which one you use, just as long as they fit this particular type of pan. So this, peel the film off, and sometimes you'll see these little pieces that have a little piece of stem from when they dice the tomatoes. If you can, go ahead and throw them out because nobody really wants to get that in their salad, on top of nachos or whatever it happens to be. But things do happen, and I mean the part is edible, it's just not very tasty necessarily. So I prefer to scoop the tomatoes out instead of trying to pour them in. The reason being is because there's water in the bottom of that pan. That's actually why they make these grooves in here. And I don't know if you can see that very well, but in the bottom of there's these little grooves that are meant to kind of divert the liquid that drains off of the tomatoes naturally once they put them in here. So really, you're just grabbing a couple handfuls of it and slowly dispensing them into each pan, and you're trying to fill it up to the fill line. Okay, so each of these pans has a fill line, and that's meant to show you like when it sits in a cooler area, from here down is what's going to get all the refrigerated, like the cold air. This is usually going to be exposed, and so for the health department, they try to have us fill things only this tall so that everything stays at the proper temperature. But so once I've got that one filled, I'm going to grab the next one and do the same process, and if there's a little bit extra, you can kind of just split it between your available pans. But again, this isn't a super complicated process. You don't need to go to culinary school to do this, or even ever have worked in a kitchen before. You really just got to have some common sense. So as you can see, that one's gotten kind of tall, so I kind of shook it around to drop some of the remaining tomatoes down in there. But like if you take a look at that, there's a lot of water in there, and you really don't want that sitting in your pan. That's the reason we have the drip sets in there in the first place, because I mean they're tomatoes, they're a vegetable, so they're going to naturally let go and release some water. But if they sit in that, then they're going to get soggy and mushy, and it's a really unpleasant texture for somebody if you were having a salad or something like that. So anyway, that is the process of diced tomatoes. So at this point, it's full. Go ahead and put the lids on them. And like everything else in the kitchen, we go ahead and grab a couple of labels, like so. Ta-da! And again, if you've seen the sliced tomato or even some of the other veg prep, you'll see that there's a particular place you really want to put these labels on there. But these is not so much because they're square, but it does actually have kind of like a broad and narrow side. But either case, you want to make sure that you have the labels facing, when we place them in the walk-in cooler, so that they're facing out. So whoever goes to grab them can see them, make sure they can clearly see the date, and properly rotate things if necessary. So at this point, we'll go ahead and put them in the walk-in. Make sure they're stored either on the bottom of the stack or behind the oldest product that's in there. You always want to rotate. And that's really it. So hope you guys dug it. We'll catch you on the next one.